After teacher Bam Jun was expelled outside of his body, Youngmin was found trembling on the floor, completely shocked by what he had just experienced. After that, he arrived at the realization that the man who had entered his body was Choi Bam Jun, the one and only father of adventurers. In addition to this, he discovered that the power of his magic was somewhat greater than he had anticipated. At that point, he somewhat feared for his life. That man is a monster. He was cut off from his thoughts when shoes came into his sight. The teacher was asking for his name. However, Youngmin's expression remained one of mild annoyance, as shown by the furrow that formed between his brows. As he did not hear him clearly, he muttered a pardon. Teacher Bam Jun bent his knee and tried to level his gaze with Youngmin. Once again, he invited him to be his disciple. Annoyance was gone in his body. Within a second, he heard what the teacher said. His eyes widened in surprise with his gaping jaw. Sparkled flashed before his eyes. It felt like he was over the moon. That was such an honorable thing. Yujil was seen lurking in the shadows, looking from behind as Youngmin and teacher Bam Jun began to become acquainted with one another. Both of their faces were bright with a smile the entire time, and Yujil was jealous. It has always been like that all the time. He worked harder and he was more skilled than Youngmin, but still, he's the one who gets all the attention. Always him. It has always been the case every single time. Even though he put in more effort to become more skilled and competent than Youngmin, Youngmin continues to be the one who receives all of the attention. Always him, even though he does not deserve it. Yujil stood trembling from the back as he watched the two leave the place. The next day, when the sun smiled down on earth, Youngmin was found at his table, in front of a computer, with his hands moving rapidly across the keyboard. It appeared as though he had just stepped out of the shower because of the pair of comfortable clothes he was wearing, as well as the towel that was wrapped around his neck. He started to give some serious thought after placing his left hand on his cheek. He was thinking about whether or not it was appropriate for him to relax in the manner that he was doing at the moment. Well, the teacher told him to relax, so I guess that would be okay. Teacher Bam Jun informed him that he has something to attend to, so in the meantime, he should take the opportunity to rest because once the training begins, he will undoubtedly be pleading for mercy. Teacher Bam Jun advised him to take advantage of this opportunity, and even if he has already passed away, the training will still continue. Youngmin trembles as he recollects the conversation he had with the teacher. So, just like Teacher Bam Jun advised, he will take a rest, but at the same time, he would collect more information to expand his knowledge. Youngmin was surprised when he came across a certain page on the web. Scandalous truth at the academy. Faculty apologies. This was the headline of the breaking news. All the professors were fired. He attempted to hide the tension in his face by pulling his lips into a little grin. Is Teacher Bam Jun the reason for this? He had to be. He is the founding member of the Adventurer Association, after all. The original author of the story has detected a piece of information inside the story. Both the unexpected arrival of the hologram in front of Youngmin and the information that it delivered stunned him at the same time. He considered the various reasons why the new knowledge he had acquired might be related to the original story. He went to a new website and read some of the comments that were made regarding a particular competition. It was a potion-making competition. The winning prize did not live up to the expectations of the public. One person went as far as to say that it was crap and that nobody would want to participate in the competition. Also, another person commented that it was just a stone. All of the comments were found negative, but Eden knows better. When he saw the picture of the reward, a look of recognition appeared on his face. He called it Bastium. Youngmin was also familiar with it, and perhaps he had studied it back when he was a student. On the other hand, he did not expect that this could also be reproduced. Bastium, an old relic that provides evidence that gods actually did exist. The royal family places a high value on it and makes an annual purchase of it, yet they have only been able to accumulate a total of 30 kilograms of it. That is how valuable this mineral is considered to be within the novel. But Youngmin smirked when he thought he could agree with the comments. It does look like a stone. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how another episode of How Do We Piss Eden started. Eden started his rant by lecturing Youngmin on how precious it is to be called a stone. Then, he started attacking the person who put Bastium as a prize in the competition. How do we calm him down? Youngmin might lose his sense of hearing. After a while, finally, Eden calmed a bit. He asked Youngmin if he knew how to make a potion. Youngmin furrowed his brows and confidently said no. He claimed that he had never been particularly talented in matters pertaining to potions and their components. Eden shut his eyes in annoyance as he puffed out a deep sigh. He must be thinking how to curse Youngmin again, is he not? A light flashed from his eyes as he spoke with determination. Because he was determined to get the Bastium by any means necessary. he made the decision that they would begin their training today. Wrinkles crossed Youngman's forehead. Wasn't the competition going to be held after a week? He asked. That's right. That's why you'll be the one to die. Not me. Eden responded with an evil smirk on his face. Youngman was super annoyed that he labeled Eden as a vicious jerk on his mind. Well, I completely agree. Medicine, or more commonly, potion, is an item that can be used to heal someone who has been hurt. It has a positive effect and is easy to bring around. But getting into a school that teaches how to make potions is exceedingly difficult. Despite this, Youngman put up a happy face. He is aware of the fact that it is a challenging task. If you simply know how to produce a low-class potion, then several guilds will want to scout you. That was what he was aware of, but what had he done? Youngman paled as he squinted his eyes over. You have successfully created a potion on your first try. His jaw has dropped to the ground as he examines the newly made potion that is sitting in front of him. He cannot believe his own eyes. He has successfully created a potion on his first try. But of course, he had to receive help from someone. And that someone was the royal alchemist's youngest apprentice. What he had made was a substandard health recovering potion. It is a potion that has the ability to speed up recovery and heal minor wounds in a short amount of time. After that day, Youngman completely transformed himself into a low-class alchemist for a total of just 2 hours. But if there is one thing that he failed to take into account, it is the fact that Eden is a hard worker. What Eden did all the time was just tell him to practice harder, even until death. So cursed Eden as he made himself comfortable on a bench. When Youngman was thinking to himself about how all the information he had acquired a while ago could potentially cause his head to burst, he spotted the line of people inquiring about the contest. While he was observing the length of the queue, he became aware of a person he had seen before in the crowd. He was walking like a celebrity, and people couldn't stop staring at his stunning face because of it. It was the son of Master Reynold. His name was Reynold. You can tell that his name came from his father, lol. He experienced a sense of betrayal. According to him, they stated that craftspeople and those above were not permitted to participate, but all of the heavyweights were present. He believed that they would not be interested in a mineral that could not be identified. This is why producers are. Let's interrupt his thought and learn who those people are called producers. Producers. When the adventurers return with a variety of materials from the dungeon and the tower, the people who build products utilizing those materials are referred to as producers. The association has only bestowed the title of craftsman upon a select group of 38 of them. In addition, even among them, they chose the 8 most skilled craftsmen and gave them the name Master Craftsman. Youngman glanced at the line. He was experiencing feelings of defeat despite the fact that the competition had not yet begun. So Eden, being himself, answered even though Youngman was not asking for his opinion. Eden told him that since he has so much time to spend caring about other people, he should rather read another book. The constant nagging from Eden irritated Youngman to no end. All he thinks about is the Bastium. He doesn't even care if Youngman dies getting it. Therefore, Youngman retrieved another bottle of his potion, which he then chose to consume instead of letting Eden ruin his day. When someone approached him, just as he was about to take a sip, he stopped. When he looked up and saw Reynold standing in front of him, he was completely taken aback. He barely uttered a response. He held the bottle with both his hands and told Reynold that it was just for treating fatigue. But Reynold seems unconvinced. He questioned Youngman if it was really effective. Reynold's eyebrows were furrowed, and his face screamed arrogance, causing Youngman to feel an even deeper sense of offense. How dare he not greet me after seeing me? Youngman ranted in his head. On the other hand, Youngman paid little attention to this and instead focused on how Reynold appeared. And taking all of this into consideration, it appears that he does not belong to any one group. Reynold put on a sly smile. We can see by his expression that he was mocking Youngman. He said, they restricted craftsmen and above, but I didn't know even a street dog would join. It seems like Youngman made another enemy. Like, come on. Youngman was just there, sitting quietly like a nice kid. Then Reynold appeared and mocked him all of a sudden. Upon hearing the mockery he had just received, he automatically gripped the bottle of potion in his hand. Group 2, from numbers 120 to 135, come out, please. Their scene was interrupted when one of the moderators of the event announced the above line. Reynold walked out with a hand in his left pocket and a little wave on his right. Street dog, Youngman repeated in his head. He clenched his jaw, and his eyes narrowed into a piercing look. He drew Eden's attention and then proceeded to declare that he would do everything he could to win this competition no matter what. Eden's rage was on par with Youngman's. Kiss his boop, he replied. Fast forward. Everyone who was competing was confined within a massive room. There were benches surrounding the center stage form below where tables were arranged. Each of them has different kinds of a unique assortment of components and raw resources, which the competitors are free to use in making their own potion. The moment the announcer started speaking, everybody started paying attention to what was going on. The time that has been allotted, as stated by the announcer, is a total of 2 hours. All that is required of them is to select a herb and make a potion. After announcing those, the contest began. Taking into account that it is an amateur competition, each of the contestants shows a high level of skill. Reynold praised the organizers and all those who were behind the competition as he saw the latest expensive compounding machine installed, even though they also have one in the house. He added, "Hayes, you really need to work on your arrogance, brother." Reynold's thoughts were cut off when he was an odd person. It was Youngman. He did not understand why on earth Youngman was just standing there doing nothing. The clock is ticking. This has not started with his potion yet. What's with him? Youngman appeared to have his eyes closed. If the competition weren't going on, I'd say he was doing some meditation, but it seems like he was focused on something else. After noticing it, Reynold made fun of him once more. It appeared to him that Youngman was participating in some sort of image training rather than potion making. According to him, as soon as the contest starts, everyone has to move quickly and get that herb. He cast one last look in Youngman's direction before turning his back on him and labeling him a loser. "You are quite cruel, Reynold." In the meantime, a home appeared on the scene. Upon entering the humble abode, one could hear the noises that were being produced by various construction materials. The presence of construction workers indicated that something was being built. Gravity-controlling magic circle and mana-concentration magic circle. "Looks like your new apprentice is quite talented," a lady in her denim jumpsuit said. She has green eyes, orange hair, and a gorgeous smile to go along with it. She could not believe that the design they were working on contained more spells than the majority of the gyms combined. Because she loved it, she could not resist asking who was the kid. Then, Teacher Bamjoon came into play. He said that the kid was just a kid who took a leave of absence from the academy. "Without a doubt, you're thinking of Youngman." Additionally, he said that someone like him was able to block his soul class skill, the Adventurer's Eye. This indicates that the individual in question possesses an ability that is at least a soul class O or higher. Because he did not want to reveal those details, he simply informed the lady that he was just trying to take care of a student who worked hard. That is why he was called the father of adventurers, after all. The lady then just laughed and left a remark, "What a speech." When Teacher Bamju suddenly recalled something, a look of concern flashed before his eyes. He looked at the time on his wristwatch for a moment before bidding the lady farewell. On the other hand, Youngman can be seen with his eyes closed. He was doing the immersion right at this moment. Arian Pepper. She worked as the direct apprentice under the greatest alchemist in the original story. She did not have the most intelligent, but she was the best when it came to precise mana control. The woman was so stunning that you may have mistaken her for a fairy if she hadn't been in human form. She has beautiful long blonde hair that complements the angelic features of her face. Arian Pepper was well aware of the deficiencies that she had. Therefore, she read more than 100 books per day in order to compensate for the knowledge she lacked. And at long last, she was selected to become the direct apprentice of the greatest alchemist. With that, she was able to inherit the knowledge of Ascendant from him. Now, if Youngman drinks the potion, which by immersion was in his hand, he will learn a vast amount of knowledge. After drinking the liquid from the bottle, Youngman was seen within a chamber, an unending space full of different kinds of books surrounding him. He started to sweat and doubted whether he would be able to absorb all of the information within it. Warning, the level gap is too big. The whites of Youngman's eyes began to show. He felt a burning sensation inside his head. It feels as though thousands upon thousands of knives are slicing through it. As the pain became more severe, he yelled as loud as he could at the top of his lungs. But he has no choice but to endure it if he wants to win the contest. Hero's mana is filling in the mana deficiency. You have temporarily acquired mastery over alchemy. Your knowledge and experience about alchemists are increasing. Youngman gritted his teeth as prominent lines between his eyebrows formed. Eden was grinning from ear to ear in spite of the frown that was on Youngman's face. Right at that moment, he was able to sense other people's energies in a way that was very different from the time he was learning alchemy. The smirk on his face must have gotten bigger because he is obviously impressed by Youngman's skill. He can't get enough of it. Coming back to reality, the immersion was complete, but Youngman was clutching his head. The pain must have lingered on it. Tiredness was visible on his face. But at least it was done. He could have failed it if he hadn't trained the week before. Youngman then roams his eyes around. He ran for the chest that was meant to hold all the herbs. However, it appears that all of the other contestants took it while he was busy immersing himself. Eden told him they were too late. However, when Youngman noticed something on the chest, his eyes widened in surprise. Eden's mouth made the shape of an O, and he asked him whether he had discovered anything. But, to everyone's disappointment, they turned out to be poisonous herbs. Youngman scratched the back of his head and smiled widely, while Eden, on the other hand, was mad again. Despite that, he offered Youngman a recommendation. He assured him that he would receive at least a decent score if he created a strong poison that was capable of eliminating even a large monster in a single dose. When Youngman was thinking about the suggestion, he suddenly became aware of something. It was the unique herb known as Astondilopia, which has a strong heat and, when consumed, raises the internal temperature of the person. If, by some remote chance, it is consumed without special processing, it will cause every vein in the body to melt down. The following herb was referred to as Barian. It is quite rare. When heated, the herb changes its properties, and then it transforms into a mucous membrane that can cover the entire body. In most cases, it is applied to wounds on the outside of the body. If ingested, it is possible that it can act as an extremely lethal poison. Youngman cuts off Eden's words before he can give him some nagging. He assured Eden that they would be fine because he already knew what to do. First, he grabbed some Barian, and subsequently, he grabbed some Astondilopia as well, then proceeded to grab some other herbs. He needs to speed up because the clock is ticking, and there is a chance he won't make the cutoff. So, instead of walking, he started running towards the nearest table he could find. The only thing he could find was poisonous herbs, but he had to use them nonetheless since he required ingredients with strong effects. Every single drop of their extracts contains a poison that has the potential to take the lives of thousands of people. It is, without a doubt, risky, but he had no other option. That's what is left in the chest. To keep himself focused on what he was doing, he kept reminding himself that if things went wrong, he could end up killing several individuals or even the entire human race at most. He made so much effort to keep his attention on the task at hand. Meanwhile, a person was seen sitting comfortably on a chair. He was dressed professionally in a blue suit, and he wore spectacles. He clutched his hands in front of his chest as his eyebrows furrowed. It was the master craftsman, Master Reynolds' father. With keen eyes, he was watching the competitors make their own potions. Some had a smile on their faces, while others were the opposite. The things that Master Reynolds was witnessing did not impress him nor satisfy him in any way. They were all ordinary health potions or ready-made drugs. There is nothing particularly remarkable about the works they produce. For now, there isn't anyone who can catch up with his son. His eyebrows drew closer when he noticed someone. This imbecile does not even know how to use a machine. He is a complete moron. Unfortunately, it was our Youngman. Youngman was standing from the crows because the time was only limited, and instead of using a machine, he was doing something else. But Master Reynolds changed his mind, and he was surprised when he realized what Youngman was trying to do. Youngman has to remove the mana surrounding the poison and put it in the purified water, so he has to put mana around his hands. Master Reynolds' eyes became bigger. He was able to put together the pieces of the puzzle and piece together the plan that Youngman would refine the poison using mana instead of the machine. He is even neutralizing the poison while simultaneously enhancing its beneficial effects. As far as he knows, that method is impossible, and there has never been anyone who has been successful in doing it that way. So, the mystery of from who did he learn it became a question on his mind. When he realized the consequences of using this strategy improperly, he began sweating heavily. The poisonous effect will significantly intensify, and an explosion will take place not just in this location but also in a radius of a few miles around it. Master Reynolds began to panic as he called the manager. He insisted that the competition needed to be halted immediately, just at the point when the audience began to cheer. As revealed in the huge monitor in front, a soul-class potion has appeared. It was Han Youngman. Youngman blushed as he held the bottle of potion in his hand. The shock was written on Master Reynolds' face. When the announcer stated that they already had a winner, Ronald's jaw hit the ground in shock, just like his own father did when he heard the news. Like father, like son, indeed. Just like announced earlier, he made a soul-class potion. It is called Potion of Fire. Because of the characteristics of its ingredients, this potion had the potential to be a lethal poison. Nevertheless, by the use of skillful manipulation, the toxic properties of the potion were neutralized. When consumed, it permanently increases fire resistance and mana. Your unique ability has increased because of your concentration. The limit to your skill usage is increasing. The young man's eyes widened in surprise. It took significantly less time than he had expected it would. His train of thought was cut off when someone in a rage grabbed him by the collar. Guess who is it? Yes, it's Reynolds. The anger that Reynolds felt was palpable. As he clenches his teeth, deep lines appear between his eyebrows. "You're hiding something, aren't you?" he screamed in Youngman's face. They came to a standstill when his father came into view accompanied by 2 security guards on his back. His tone was threatening as he yelled at his son, demanding to know what on earth the boy was doing. Reynold remained motionless in his stance, staring with fear ahead of him and with his mouth wide open. He quickly released Youngman's collar from his hands. Master Reynolds gave him a lecture about how he ought to be embarrassed right now, and how he had brought shame to his reputation because of his actions. In order to justify his actions, Reynold asserted that the jerk, referring to Youngman, had committed fraud. However, his father expressed his objections to that notion. His eyes did not have even a single knotted hole in them. Reynold made an attempt to provide further explanation, but his father simply gave him a look. So, instead, he decided to do a deep bow and apologize. But Master Reynolds was not pleased with this plan. He should be offering his apologies to Youngman. Reynold swallows his pride and apologizes to Youngman in spite of the fact that this will cause his pride to be crushed. At that very moment, Youngman experienced awkwardness. He was standing funnily, and he was scratching the back of his head. As if the apologies of his son were not sufficient, the master made his own apology. Master Reynolds made an attempt to strike up a conversation as soon as the tension in the air started to clear. He revealed to Youngman that he had been observing him from the very beginning and was impressed by his mana. Therefore, he can't help but wonder who teaches the young man. Youngman politely answered that he was an autodidact. The master and his son were totally shocked. They were suddenly approached by a member of the contest staff who was rushing in their direction. He gave Youngman a call. It is important that he get himself ready to take the podium at this very moment. So, Youngman left the two and followed the staff. As Master Reynolds watches Youngman makes his way out of the place, he can't help but reflect on the incredible amount of ability that might be found in such a small country. What a promising young man he will become in the future. He saw that his son was looking at his feet. His expression conveyed an overwhelming sense of sadness. Therefore, in an effort to console him a little bit, he tapped him on the shoulder and told him that he had done well. Reynold tried hard to fight his tears. The actions of his father affected him, and as a result, he made a vow to his father that he would work even more diligently once they got back to their homeland. After a few moments, the award ceremony began. The victor will receive both the trophy and the prize for their efforts. Youngman was in the middle of the stage. People were at his front, some had a camera in their hand, must be part of the news team. The award shall be given by the father of adventurers, his master Bam-Jun. When the instructor came up to speak to Youngman, he was all smiles and laughter. He had both of his hands on the golden prize that the competitors were competing for. Although Youngman should be happy about the fact that he will be given the trophy, he is rather taken aback and bewildered by the unexpected appearance of his master. He had not expected that he would be the one who would award him. But a smile appeared on his face no longer a split second. Admiration was visible on his face as he stared at his master.